The suburb of Ranui was established in 2011 as a combination of Ranui Heights and Porirua East. It was established by the New Zealand Geographic Board. The Ranui Residents Association have been working for some time with the Porirua City Council, implementing our village plan written in 2011. Part of that plan has been to celebrate and remember the early settlers of this area. But we also wanted to know what relationship Ngāti Toa had had with this area. And so I had a conversation with Ngāti Toa kaumātua Taku Parai.
They left reserves for us to use to live on. Then later on, when they wanted to actually sell some of those reserves off, they put them into individual names. Obviously so that they could get signatures on paper. So they broke down different areas and parcels of land, put them into the lands of prominent leaders, and then they were able to offer compensation. And then move towards telling them off privately, which occurred around there, in that area. It's how we see the transition of that area of land. Leave traditional ownership, Ngāti Toa ownership into private European farming interests, notably the Gia family and the Mangeva family. And so that was really an interesting part of the early alienation process of that particular area. But in saying that, coming back to what we used it for, obviously te Ranui, meaning a long day. When the sun came across, that area of land had stayed most of the day, most of the summer months were long and warm, which allowed our people then to use that area for marakai, which were growing food. And obviously enough it was near Kinapuru Stream, which was another source of particularly tuna for our people. We got a lot of the tuna from that area of Porirua. And if you think about te Ranui and that boundary that people call Cannons Creek from there down, there are quite some significant landmarks in that particular area. One being that site where te Ranui and that settlement was, or still is, but we use for gardening. Then there was the other side of the Mangevans, which we called Te Awa Porirua, the Porirua Stream, which was another source of kai for us. And then going further up towards where people call the bottom of the area, we obviously had bigger interest in that bigger stream up there for tuna as well, and for planting and other resources that grew in that river there. We were particularly interested in that area because of its nourishing and good soil around Ranui. Around there, it's beautiful, which is why you saw the first port of call basically by new settlers for its fertility and for its view over the valley at that time, and for its not too rugged terrain. Hence, once the forest was cleared, it was used for farming and grazing. And down the road across the other side of the river, I guess, was the little village, the first village of Porirua, with notable families like the Ryans. And then coming back this way, it was sort of morphed into the old village shopping centre that had trails, shoe shop, Moffat's butcher, the post office, the dairy there, and a material shop in the old bottom tavern. And it's sort of from there, if you look up to Ranui, you can sort of see and capture the vision that they saw in terms of an ideal place to settle. The original growth would have been all native. Where most probably now would have been experienced maybe the third growth, which meant that it took a lot of hard work to bring that land into fertile grazing for the Mangevans. Our people had quite a close association, those early families and communities like the Mangevans. I know our people worked for Mangevan in different roles, and our people growing up with an affinity with them. And the older ones left today still talk about those names and those families with them.
And there's intermarriage too.
And intermarriage, and a lot of intermarriage there.
So before the settlement, what were some of the names associated with that area, and other significant places that we should know or think
the most
about?
significant place on or near from Ranui that you could have a good view would have been that mountain that people call Colonial Knoll, which would have been the highest peak central to this area here. But we have, through our settlement process, pushed for a lot of name change back to the original names or near enough to. And that name now, that hill or that mountain peak would be Ranui. And I've seen a document, an old document where it doesn't say the area particularly, but if you follow the fine line of that coast from Titahi Bay down, it shows and identifies the highest peak. Would have been the same distance as that mountain. We now know it's Ranui. But it had a name on it called Utiwai. Utiwai. So it might have been a name originally before we got here. And then moving across to some of the other areas like Kinapuru, obviously all that area around Kinapuru was fertile as well. Takapu heading down that way, Tawa, were interesting areas for us in our history, particularly down towards Takapu coming back this way was where we held up construction of the track from Wellington to Purirui here, and there was a bit of a confrontation, a scuffle there at Takapu. Taka meaning to lie down and pu meaning guns. And then coming back this way towards Purirui, Te Ranui, the outlying areas, they were all a main thoroughfare beside a river, Takapu Road heading down to Kinapuru, out into the Purirui harbour. And then with one side being settled by the European fraternity, and then over this side was where the tangata whenua Ngāti Toa lived and had been for quite a number of years. So Crown, after the 1860s, then decided to work with the rangatira of the day to get some sense of ability to on-sell those blocks of land. And the hospital, well, all that area there was given by Ngāti Toa for the building of the new asylum mental hospital. For them was in Wellington. Coming down to this side of the river, up Te Ranui and across behind Mangevan, heading up towards Cannon Creek there, defining on the map. That was signed under the name, if I can remember, Hanikamu Te Iko. And then from there across to Aotea, and then from Aotea up to the harbour entrance to Pauatahanui was held in the name of, I think it was Solomon, I'm not too sure, the old man Solomon. And then, you know, there was the obvious reason that the future will show that there was a transaction by the Māori to the European of blocks of land, and that was the purpose, to alienate away our traditional lands for whatever reason. Obviously it was to on-sell it. And then you had Whitireia up the other end of the harbour, and then the harbour reclamation to make way for progress. So all that encompassed that whole area that Ngāti Toa had once been really closely associated to. We still have an association, but now we have to form relationships to rekindle our association with those areas, because over time people settled those areas, children grow up generations and generations, and to be fair, they have an association with that area too. So we as tangata whenua, and our old people recognise those associations through school, and they attended tangihanga, they attended weddings with those old families, birthdays. I think maybe 4 or 5 years ago they had a reunion that was organised by the first Chinese settlers here, the Nan family, by Barry, and he got together a lot of the old photos and people that were still alive, and they had a bit of a reunion. And I saw a photo of that gathering, and it was our people sprinkled amongst those early family names, which was fantastic. And so Ranui was more or less the first area that sort of had substantial interest with the new settler families, and they chose to live on that side, obviously for those early reasons that I pointed out. And they built their own church there.
It's been shifted. I think it was St Anne's. It's gone.
St Anne's, yeah.
It's been shifted down to Arawhata.
Oh, right.
Huanui, Arawhata, Awatea.
Yeah, it's so there was a community there, and we had our community at the feet of the harbour. But they become one and the same over time. A lot of those early families contributed to our people's tangihangas during the Depression. Some of them were big help. And so by and large, those early family names and those old names, we still have a great association and respect for.
The streets I've just mentioned, Huanui, Arawhata, Awatea.
Yeah.
They come from, Ngāti Toa, or are they later additions that
I think
have
they were
no
later
connections?
additions, yeah.